Okay. Okay, folks, thank you very much. We're at council meeting of Monday, July 13th. And just before we call the meeting to order, just remind people we are on Teams. We are working through the technical parts of these things. Councillor Finney is trying to get in. He may join us later once if he's able to crack a couple of codes. And so if it does show, we'll announce him coming in. Once again, if there are bumps on the road, we will continue. If somebody's off, they will be brought back in, but they may have missed a little bit. And if it's the chair, the deputy mayor will step in and take that over at that point. As usual, we are unable yet to have questions directly from anybody. So if you have questions, those who are watching this, please direct them to the clerk's office and we'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. And council, you have in front of you an agenda. You've had that for a few days. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move the agenda as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Evans.
I'll second that. Councillor Butcher?
Councillor Butcher seconds. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now,
Excuse me, Your Worship. Perhaps we should do roll call before we continue.
Yep.
Thank you.
yes, I was about to say we haven't got a standard place for roll call, but we should have that. And I was putting that now in. So as usual, we'll start with, for technical reasons, we'll start with staff and end with council, as most of the people who will be speaking will show up on your screen will be council. So Ms. Bickford, are you online?
I am, Your Worship.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly Spurls.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I'm here.
Todd Cole.
I'm here, Your Worship.
Thank you. Matt Pride, are you here?
Yes, Your Worship, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Becky Goodwin.
Yes, Your Worship, I'm here.
Wayne Acton.
Yes, Your Worship, I am here. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Beal.
Yes, Your Worship, I'm here.
Thank you. Donna Beal.
Yes, Your Worship, I'm here. Thank you.
Jamie Burke.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Members of council, I'm also here.
Thank you. Councillor Finney, have you made it in? Not at this point. Councillor Butcher.
I am here.
Thank you. Councillor Black.
Yes, I'm here as well.
Councillor O'Neill.
I'm finally here, thank you. I am present.
Councillor Evans.
I'm here and I'm glad to see that Councilor O'Neill has joined us.
Councillor Michaud.
I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tower.
I am here, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
Deputy Mayor Aiken.
I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
And myself. So once again, we do not have, unexpectedly, we do not have anybody from the fire department. So there may not be some technical questions on the the item tonight, but it is only first reading and we can get intensive questions answered after that. So the council can make up his mind what it would like to do at that point if you wish. Councillor Finney will continue to try to get in. He is right next door to me here in the hall, but having some password difficulties on his own laptop. So that said, we'll move to item number 3, which is disclosure of interest. I would like to note here that there may be a perception of one, but that is that the employment contract for the CAO allows and performs him to teach at Mount Allison as he has done in the past in his previous positions. So I'm just going to raise that now that there is an item dealing with Mount Allison and the town. And so the CAO had a contractual opportunity and he does still deliver the same type of courses that he did in the past. So I just wanted to raise that. Is there any other disclosures or concerns of interest on any of the items tonight? Hearing none. Your favorite part, minutes. Page 3 of your package, June 8th. Any comments on the minutes, or is there a motion?
I'd be happy to move we adopt the minutes for that meeting as circulated.
Councillor Evans moves the motion.
I'll second that, your worship.
Councillor Tower seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes of the special meeting of council, June 22nd, on page 10 of your package.
I move the adoption of those minutes, your worship, Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor moves adoption. Is there a seconder?
I'll second the
I'll second
motion.
that. No.
Councillor O'Neill seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. And finally, special meeting of council, July 6th, on page 12 of your package.
I move the adoption of the minutes.
Councillor Evans, thank you. So moved. Seconder?
I'll second that, your worship.
Councillor Towers seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Are there any business arising from the minutes? I have none that I noted. Anybody else? Hearing none, we move to Southeast Regional Services. Regional Service Commission, Deputy Mayor, you attended that. Would you be prepared to speak to that, please?
Yes, your worship. The meeting was held on June 30th, and there was actually a rather short meeting, but high points of trying to rename the street going into the waste facility. They're having trouble with that. The finance report showed that there was a deficit in the solid waste. The tonnage was down, but they expected that, and it should be recovering fairly soon. In solid waste, all operations have returned to normal, and revenues are back for normal, and site traffic, they say, is up 15%. The local planning department noted that the Shoreline Trail, which now goes from Riverside Albert to the Hopewell Rocks, money has come in to complete that trail. And then after that, that was the main thing of the meeting. And after that, we went into an in-camera session.
Any questions on the report from Southeast Regional Service Commission meeting? That's good. On the trail, that was one of the first engagements of the trail staff that they brought in, was to pursue that trail, and the idea was to link Fundy Park up to Parley Beach, and that those two parks should be linked by some form of a pedestrian bicycling trail. And so that is part, getting money to do that first part from Alma to Riverside Albert is a significant accomplishment for that staff person and for that vision of a regional trail system. So thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Sure.
And hearing no questions, we will move on to the planning report. Ms. Bickford, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. In the month of June, there were 8 permits issued. Year to date, the total number of permits are 23, with a total construction value of around $807,000. This time last year, there were 37 permits issued with a construction value of approximately $4.7 million. So we are down a bit in the construction value. Some of that obviously is attributed to people just not carrying out the construction projects that they have. The ones that we do seem to have at this time are smaller scale things, some like decks, accessory buildings, and that kind of nature of projects. One of the things that we have been doing as staff is looking towards simplifying the building permit application. So we used to have a fairly complex application form. It's been reduced down to make it more user-friendly to the general public, and it's now available online. So this is something that we'll be moving forward with all of our applications. So to date, subdivisions have been added there, as well as the waiver forms and as well as the, obviously the building permit one, which I've just indicated. Staff have also been working on a number of mapping projects for the town, including the public arts location map for the RFP, as well as a street map identifying the non-maintained roads in town, as well as the public roads that are maintained. And just one other final reminder that I just wanted to add is to remind people that often we don't necessarily associate a change of use of a land use on a property with triggering a permit, but it sometimes does trigger both a development permit and a building permit. So the example I would use is, you're going, in an extreme example, going from a residential use to a commercial use, that could trigger some building code requirement issues in order to comply, as well as just that general statement to make sure that it is a use that's permitted within that zone. That concludes my report.
Any questions on the planning report? Mr. Evans, Councillor Evans.
Yes, I was wondering if Ms. Vicker could confirm something. It's not so much that the $800,000 in building permits this year is down as much as we had unusually large building permit values in the last couple of years. Is that a correct assumption?
Certainly. I mean, when you obviously a construction that involves an institutional use or a commercial use, those are bigger scaled projects that tend to come with a bigger price tag, which is one of the main contributing factors to the change in the value.
Thanks.
So on that same line, I don't see anybody with their hand up. Could Mr. Burke or Mr. Beal comment on what that might mean, what these implications might mean for your budget of this coming fall? If we're looking at property tax assessed values, is that going to have a significant impact?
Thank you, Worship. As indicated during the June 22nd, one of the issues heading into 2021 budget year may result in steadfast tax base or potentially a reduced tax base. So $1 million in building permit construction, if that materialized into full tax base increase with no changes, that's less than 0.2%. So that's very insignificant. So we need approximately $7 million worth of permit that adds to the tax base that results in a 1% increase in tax base for us. Plus, with COVID, depending on what may or may not happen with the value of other properties, whether students are able to come or not this fall, and whether properties become empty or vacant, that may also have an effect. But as we normally do, myself and CAO will be meeting with Service New Brunswick Assessment Division prior to the budget to see where they are. And as well, we'll be getting information from the province quicker. But at this point in time, I would see very little growth in our 2021 tax base, if any, and quite possibly a risk of a small reduction. But since March, we've been looking at that, and through the June 22nd meeting, we had talked about that and looking at some funds that we had available for the reserve fund this year that we have available to help us next year, plus looking at potentially year-end transfers into the operating reserve and not just the capital reserve to help us for 2021 and potentially into 2022 if that does materialize. If the CAO wishes to add any more to that.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I guess one of the things that we've been communicating quite clearly with the rest of the management team is that, just because we do have some line items that may not have been spent, it's simply not just to reallocate that to something else without us, sitting down as a management group and then, obviously briefing council as well. Because every bit of money we can put aside for a rainy day, after just listening to the treasurer, the rainy day may be coming next year. So department heads have been great at kind of managing their budgets, as Michael alluded to in the June 22nd budget, and we're going to continue to keep an eye on things leading into the tail end of 2020.
Excellent. Any other questions? None, no more on the planning report? Thank you, Ms. Bickford, then. And we'll go to Mayor's report, if I could. First, I wanted to let you know that I had some discussions with Saltwire Communications about the future of the Tribune, not at very high levels, but the discussion wasn't promising. A lot of detail about what the environment is for local papers. And some of you may have just gotten a formal email from Saltwire to
Okay, apparently the mayor has been temporarily frozen. We'll just wait a minute for him to restart.
All right, I'm back, I think. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So some of the details of Saltwire's suggestion was that they would need a minimum of 5,000 subscriptions and a significant commitment to advertising from local businesses in order for that to take place. That's a pretty high threshold for this area. I did talk a little bit with Amherst News about what their situation was, whether it might be an opportunity for a joint paper of some type under those kind of terms. It's a big challenge, and there's going to have to be a lot of work if somebody wants to pursue this. And I just wanted the public to know that if it's something someone wishes to spend some time on and build that type of an opportunity, let me know, and we'll arrange a chat with the parties that be, and I can give more detail about some of the things that I have heard in that. That said, given the dearth of media around locally, this is a pretty busy month. CBC Radio Information Morning Show in Moncton, myself and Mayor Cogan met 3 times, including this morning, on that show this month, all about the questions about the opening of the borders and how it's going. Similarly, the provincial CBC NB Radio Shift program, similar topic, where I was asked to spend some time with the provincial commentator on that. CBC News out of Fredericton, twice interviews, one on the impacts on towns of that opening and what was being felt. And yesterday with Mount Allison President Jean Paul, we talked about the town and the university's plans for students, given the COVID situation, and what types of measures were being planned or being prepared for. Times transcript again this morning and then last week. Amherst News, Global News, CTV News, all about border. Today, Times transcript was about students and COVID, and so a pretty busy month with media considerations of what's been going on down in this part of the province. Actually, Councillor Evans and I attended the UMNB Zone 2 meeting. A lot of topics, including policing questions, call for resolutions for a potential virtual meeting in fall. We described our climate roundtable, the ISMA study shortfalls in its design, our COVID task force, the joint approach to students and virus coming up. And subsequent to that meeting, I was asked if I would give some advice to the UMNB executive on policing in small towns and the views we might have of that. Mount A, various interactions on that. I think we talked about some of those that showed up with the interviews. COVID task force, weekly updates, miscellaneous tasks and roles. There was another call this afternoon, and where we floated the concept of the task force being able to help with students who are in quarantine, particularly off campus, which may have a little bit more difficulty to some of the services they would require. There was a volunteer recognition, not like a normal one we've become used to. It was a very short, appropriately distanced event outside. And I'm pleased to note that Nancy Estabrooks and Darren Estabrooks and Maddie Higgins were the recipients this year. And they were quite pleased with the recognition. Hospital Steering Committee, we did have a meeting to restart, and we have another one this week. And I circulated to council the Premier's reply to my May letter requesting a reset of some of the major public health policy questions. And as you can tell in the letter, he didn't address that whatsoever. So the meeting this week will be important for what our next steps are going to be. Did meet with the Climate Roundtable. We had an update on all that. Did also meet with the structure subcommittee that was looking at what the structure could look like in the future. And also had a special meeting with 2 interns that were looking at this as part of their research package. And they briefed the CAO, Matt Pride, and myself on what they had found and the types of things they thought the town should think about when the roundtable comes forward with some options. A couple other interesting things. I got a call from a local economist who wanted some input because he had heard a national CBC radio about the Tantramar Marsh and that it made no reference to the economic value attached to it. So he wished to make a reply to that national program, which he did. We had another rural mayor's call about hospitals, and a letter to the Premier went on behalf of our network from Perth Andover. And late this week, a staff level meeting with the mayor of Perth Andover was offered, and she asked if Sackville would attend with her. And we have agreed to that, although the deputy mayor and I haven't finalized who's attending that as yet. Lots of contacts with the MLA. The last couple of Turning Point webinar sessions. The ISMA study, we came to sent a letter requesting data, which I turned over to staff, and staff actually met with them. We are continuing to press for inclusion of our assets and of the town as part of that plan. They're at least hearing the plea. As you know, their terms of reference leaves out both Sackville and Amherst from their study mandate. And I guess I didn't have my report last month, and I'm not sure that I mentioned that I had done the Canada Day video earlier, quite some time earlier, which you may have saw online for our virtual Canada Day, and also that we gifted the Nova Scotia flags that had been flying at our operations to the 3 impacted municipalities in Nova Scotia with a note from myself wishing them well and hoping they recover from that event. So that's my report for this month of events, unless you have any questions on any of them. Hearing none. You can call me anytime or send me a note if there's any item that anybody wants to consider for. We'll move on to report number B, which is the CAO's report. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Worship. I think it's been as the departmental reports show, it's been another extremely busy month throughout the whole organization. I won't steal the thunder of any of the management team. I'll let them provide the detail in their own individual reports. But just a few things to highlight. I guess first of all, just to thank Mr. Acton, along with Mr. Bennett from Veolia for a really great tour of the water treatment plant. It was my first time there after being here for almost 7 years, and I guess I was amazed with how clean the facility is, but B, just I guess the sheer responsibility of running a municipal water distribution system, that it is nothing that we should take for granted, I guess, and certainly turning your taps on every single day and receiving clean water is definitely a privilege, and it's not because of a lot of sophisticated and hard work. It absolutely is a big responsibility. So I want to thank Mr. Acton and Rick at Veolia for the really thorough tour. I guess we always like to welcome new employees to the organization. It's nice to be in a position to hire people, and I want to welcome Colton Tower. Welcome Colton back. Colton was with us some time ago and left to pursue another passion, but he's back. He started on July 6th, and Brandon Estabrooks is going to be starting work on July 20th. So Colton and Brandon are the newest members of our Parks and Facilities Department, and we're really happy that they've agreed to join the town's team. I guess lastly, I'd like to congratulate all the Mount A and Tantramar Regional High School grads. I'm not sure if anyone's had the opportunity to see the new Tantramar High banners that we now have throughout the downtown. We're really pleased to be able to provide a contribution, the staff time to be able to get those banners up. So thanks to all of the families that participated, and all those students at Mount A and at Tantramar deserve a big congratulations and the best of luck in their future endeavors. So, Your Worship, I'll let the rest of the report be, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you or other members of council may have.
Council, any questions on the CAO report? Oh, you're letting them off easy. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burke. We move to liaison councilors for finance and admin. Deputy Mayor, I think you're speaking on this, are you?
Yes, I am, Your Worship. Thank you. Before I start, I should apologize that I appear to be looking away from the screen. I've got the reports up on another computer beside me, so. I move the council accept the bills and payroll for the month of June 2020 as follows. General government, $780,078.99. General capital, $63,013.72. Utility government, $364,185.36. Utility capital, $62,820.03. And salaries, $188,083.25.
So moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Councillor Towers seconds the motion. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You have another?
Yes, Your Worship, we'll move on to the report now, the financial report. Financial statements are included to the end of June 2020 and continue to be relatively on track, except for items that are affected by COVID-19. There are no major problems to report, no major anomalies to report, and managers are working on completing capital projects which have come in on or under budget so far. Full financial picture was provided to council on June 22nd. The new budget dates were provided in June. As expected, the province will provide our information relating to tax base and grants earlier, thereby requiring us to submit our budgets earlier. We'll likely be required to submit our budgets by the end of November, which will require approval at the special council meeting rather than the December regular council meeting. As for timing for Sackville, we always began our budget process early, and then we're in a holding pattern waiting for the information. So it is expected our internal deadline will be maintained, and the only change will be the approval time. Audit work continued and was completed in late June with the approval of the audit tonight. The 2019 audit was presented to council in draft format on the 6th of July, 2020, special meeting of council. And the highlights of the audit are as follows. There's a general operating surplus of $63,677. Utility operating surplus of $9,109. The tangible capital assets increased by $1,889,807, and the long-term debt decreased by $828,000. We're also recommending the reappointment of Stevenson and Partners LLP as auditors for the year 2020. They have confirmed pricing will remain the same as in 2020 as it has been in 2019 and years prior. The next water bills for the period of April to June 2020 will go out the week of July 20th to 25th, and we will return the 30-day due date and the senior discount date. Dog tags remain on sale and have been since May 29th. The due date without a late fee being charged is July 31st, and a mail drop was put in people's mailboxes advising of this. Proof of rabies will be required at the time of registration. The bylaw enforcement report and animal control statistics for June are included. and we are beginning to return to normal operations. We'll also be putting heavy focus this summer on illegal parking, especially in the Willow Lane area, as new signage has been installed in that area advising the fine. Corey Springer returned to his job in late June. I'd like to thank Paul Embry for his time spent filling in for Corey. We've had difficulty finding bylaw students for 2020 with the COVID-19, but tonight we'll be appointing one student to enforce our bylaws, being Kyle Tower. A motion will be forthcoming. And that's the report, Your Worship. I will leave it to Mr. Beal to comment, should he wish.
Mr. Beal, anything you'd like to add?
No, unless there's any questions, I'm good, Your Worship.
Okay, open for questions on the report. Hearing none. I believe you have some motions, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Your Worship, I have a number of them. I move the council approve the 2019 audit as presented by Stevenson and Partners LLP, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and seal the audit.
I would like to second that motion.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Evans. Question?
Question.
Oh, Councillor Evans, you wish to speak?
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to speak, well, during the report or on this motion, but I think it's significant to speak about this during the audit. I want to take every opportunity to keep repeating myself on this fact that we increased our assets, our tangible assets, by a significant amount this year, and yet our net debt has gone down by a significant amount. That's not nothing. And I want to say that that is a really good position to be in. We're moving in a really good direction. We have no idea what the future holds, but we are on a really good course right now, and I want to call that out.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. And any other comments or questions? I must agree, Mr. Evans, that as I said in last week, that when the presentation was made, that's 4 years in a row of a trend. That's a good trend. Appreciate all the work the staff does to make us look good. So there is a motion moved and seconded. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Deputy Mayor.
I move the council appoint Stevenson and Partners LLP out of Riverview, New Brunswick as our auditors for the year 2020.
I would like to second that, Your Worship. Thank you.
Councillor Tower seconds the motion. Question?
Question.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that whereas council has adopted various bylaws and whereas the municipality wishes to ensure the proper enforcement of its bylaws by appointing an appropriate person to such position, now therefore be it resolved that the following person is hereby authorized, designated, and appointed to act for and on council's behalf in order to properly enforce all of the municipality's bylaws pursuant to the municipality's authority outlined below. Kyle Tower, effective July 13th, 2020. Be it further resolved that the above noted authorization, designation, and appointment is subject to the following. Sections 133, 134, 135, and 136 of the Community Planning Act in order to enter upon property, issue orders, seek orders from the Court of Queen's Bench, and commence proceedings in provincial court. Sections 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 72, 80, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133, 135, 139, 144, 150, 151, 153, and 195 of the Local Governance Act in order to serve tickets, commence proceedings in provincial court, enter upon property, and issue notices for dangerous or unsightly premises. And Section 14 of the Police Act in order to serve tickets and properly execute their role as a bylaw enforcement officer. Be it further resolved that the above noted authorization, designation, and appointment shall continue until the person ceases to be employed by the municipality or until the appointment is limited or rescinded by council.
Are you done?
Yep.
Moved by Deputy Mayor. Is there a
I'll
second?
second that motion.
Counselor Evans seconds that. Question?
Question.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. I believe you have one more, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, Your Worship. I move the council direct staff to apply for a grant opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program for an asset management systems enhancement in Sackville. Be it resolved that the town of Sackville commits to conducting the following activities in its proposed project submitted to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and Municipal Asset Management Program to advance our asset management program. Citywide maintenance and manager license, implementation and data work for maintenance manager software, systems training. And be it further resolved that the town of Sackville commits $12,500 from its budget toward the cost of this initiative.
Moved by Deputy Mayor. Is there a
I'll
second?
second that,
Counselor Evans seconds that.
and I would like to speak to it, if that's all right.
Please do.
And I know this may be annoying for people who were at the meeting last week because I said essentially the same thing, but we often have a different audience. So this is this asset management plan, this whole system is something that is a really good idea for the town to have and to employ, but it's also something we're required to do. And and it's not cheap. And we have been successful in getting FCM grants to help pay for it in the past. And I want to commend staff for being in a position to apply for this grant this time. We've been successful because we've been ready. Staff have been proactive. And I just want to extend some kudos to them for this.
Thank you, Counselor Evans. Counselor Michaud, please.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to get clarification. So of the budgeted amount that's noted here in this motion, was that something that was budgeted for this year? Or is this something that's come up because of this funding being available now through the FCM?
Is Mr. Acton or Mr. Burke? Mr. Acton, are you available?
Your Worship, you can also direct it to Mr. Beal.
Okay, Mr. Beal?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we had budgeted in our 2020 operating budget to undertake this. We don't capitalize through our fixed assets software and computers, so it would have to be budgeted in our operating budget. So we had budgeted over 2019-2020 to start it in the fall of 2019, then move it into 2020. But made the decision and recommendation that we hold off, knowing that there would be another round of FCM asset management funding that would come out. So we held off. So we had budgeted essentially the full amount in the budget, so would be coming in significantly under budget if we're successful. But felt given that, and when we looked at this in October, November, and staff time, resources, and what was going on, that and from a financial picture, it'd be better to wait and try to obtain FCM asset management funding first. So if we are successful in the funding, there will need to be a further motion authorizing the purchase at a future council meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Mitchell, does that answer your question?
No, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions on this? Hearing none, call the question.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Deputy Mayor, that is it for Finance and Admin, is it?
Yes, Your Worship, I am done.
Thank you. We move to Tourism and Business Development. Councilor Michaud, are you leading that tonight?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Your Worship. The report appears on page 30, I believe it is in the package, so I'll just have a few highlights here. Visitor Information Center opened on June 15th, and between June 15th and 30th, we had 80 people come for travel counseling. That compares with 236 for the same period last year. And our washroom facilities are very active with 100 folks looking to access those. Which make a good sign that folks are getting out and enjoying our waterfowl park, I guess. We are pleased to report that we have seen or have been awarded over $9,500 in student grant funds, Young Canada Works and Canada Summer Jobs for our VIC student workers. The Department of Tourism, Heritage and Culture is working very closely with Destinations Southeast, formerly known as Cultural Coast. Given that the original destination marketing organization is on hold as a result of the pandemic, we are exploring how we can work with the province and Destination Southeast on our tourism programming. We're hosting popular Moncton-based blogger Audrey Favre in town the weekend of July 18th. She will complete a feature on Sackville, including highlighting various assets and things to do. And I guess the timing is pretty good on that visit because Lavanda Lake will be taking place July 18th. Our promotional video, when the time is right, consider Sackville, New Brunswick, which encourages people to visit the town when they're ready, has had more than 80,000 views on Facebook. Our second video, Welcome Back to Sackville, New Brunswick, which was just released, has had more than 11,500 views so far. We're working on a third video promoting Sackville as the center of the Maritimes. The department continues to work on several other initiatives, including meetings with Mount Allison, local businesses, and others, the placement of an outdoor public piano, an updated Explore landing page, and the creation of an online shopping mall for local businesses, other ways to promote shopping from local businesses, new signage, and advertising initiatives. And if there's any questions, I'm sure Mr. Kelly-Spurls could answer those.
Are there any questions on the tourism report? It is going to be a challenging year and we have to stand out in whatever we do. So I much appreciate that you guys are working so hard at so many items. And also note that a couple of people wanted to thank its staff and town for the welcome on our Sackville greeting sign for the welcome to Nova Scotia's and PEI on our sign from that end of our borders. A lot of people appreciated that. So, and hearing no questions, thank you, Councillor Michaud. And we will move into public properties, I suggest. Councillor Finney is not able to participate. Councillor Evans, are you able to do that? Report?
I can and will. During the month of June, the Public Works Department continued to evaluate road conditions and make any necessary repairs to the road shoulders, ditching, culvert, and any other necessary repairs to the roadways scheduled for paving under the gas tax funding program that had been approved by Council. McDonald Paving Construction Limited continued with the patching program for 2020 during the month of June and will continue throughout the month of July or until all the patching is completed, with the potential for some fall patching as budget permits. Public Works staff continue with the line painting, the majority of which has been completed at this time. Public Works Department welcomes back the summer students who've been busy assisting regular staff on all Public Works projects, as well as trimming around hydrants, guardrails, lift stations, and much more. The Utility Department completed the flushing and evaluation of all private hydrants throughout the month of June. The Engineering Department, in conjunction with CBCL Engineering Limited, completed the design and preparation of the tender package that was issued June 9th and closed on June 24th, 2020 at 11 a.m. in Council chambers. During the tender closing, 4 tender bids were received and presented to Council during the July 6th discussion group Council meeting for their review and consideration, and there will be a motion coming forward during tonight's meeting. The Tantramar Veterans Memorial Civic Center staff have switched to park duties for the next several months. They will continue to do regular summer maintenance in the Civic Center during inclement weather. Municipal parks, the staff are monitoring all parks on a weekly basis. Staff are looking for hazards as well as making public safety and cleanliness a priority. A reminder to the public that we are still in a pandemic and the directional signage and restrictions in the Waterfowl Park remain in place. Staff continue to work on capital projects for 2020, such as the digital sign for the Civic Center and the new trail through the woodlands on the Lund property. The hiring, as has already been mentioned, the hiring process for full-time Civic Center attendants for the Parks and Facilities Department was completed during the month of June, And we're pleased to welcome Colton Towerbach, who started work on July 6th, and Brandon Estabrooks, who's scheduled to start work on July 20th. The flower baskets, beds, and planters are now in place for the season. Staff are watering 5 days a week and on weekends when necessary. The Parks and Facility Department would like to welcome the following summer students to the department: Jason Wilson, Daniel Bell, Seamus Lyon, Keenan Carline, and Eduardo de Jesus. The Town of Sackville banners, as well as the special banners commemorating many of the Tantramar Regional High School grad class of 2020, have been installed recently. And the town would like to congratulate the class of 2020 and wish them well in the future. And as reported during the special meeting on June 22nd, staff have been working with Mount A to develop a welcome center at the Civic Center to provide a safe and secure process to welcome students to Mount A and to the town, while following all necessary provincial and federal regulations regarding COVID-19, and there will be a motion relating to this coming forward tonight. And that's the report.
Thank you for the report on property and facilities. Are there any questions from council? I'm seeing none.
Okay, I have two motions.
Yes, you have two motions. Are you prepared to make those?
I am. I move that council award tender number 2020-08 Milner Avenue reconstruction to the lowest bidder, Bowser's Construction Limited, Sackville, New Brunswick, in the amount of $221,872.95, HST included.
Moved by Councillor Evans. Is there a seconder?
Second, Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That motion is carried.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Evans, do you have a second?
Yes, I move that council authorize the waiving of the rental fees for the Tantramar Veterans Memorial Civic Center for the rental period of August 2020 to September 2020 to Mount Allison University for the 2020 Student Welcome Center.
I will second that, your worship.
Moved by Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Tower. Are there any comments? Can I go? Councillor Michaud, please.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be supporting this motion. I think it's really important for our community to have that sense of comfort in the fact of getting our students back, and their families need to have a sense of comfort as well, and in fact of sending their young people to our community. And I think this avenue of having a welcome center is a good start in ensuring that this community is behind trying to make the students feel welcome and make our community feel comfortable with their return. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Evans, please.
Yes, I'm pleased to be able to agree completely with Councillor Michaud, and also to say that this also recognizes the importance of the university to the town, that we're all going through a tough time. This has been hugely difficult for them, and for us to be able to do something to help the #1 employer in town, to make sure that something that is important to us is done safely so that we all benefit from the good that the presence of the students here provide, is something I'm pleased to support.
Thank you. Councillor Butcher, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo what Councillor Michaud and Councillor Evans are saying. We were isolated for a long time, and now we are slowly starting a phased approach to reopening, but it is in a different way of doing things. And, we've all heard that tagline, we're all in this together. Well, as a community, to stay safe and to help our students coming in, we really need to work together to make this happen. And I am so pleased to hear about the plans that are already being put in place and things that are being done to ensure that that transition into the new school year, which will look very different than it has ever before, is done in a way that keeps students safe and keeps our community safe too.
Thank you, Councilor Butcher. No one else? I just wanted to say that extensive media requests in the last month or so has been about this cooperation, about this mutual attempt to make sure that both students are feeling comfortable and residents are feeling comfortable. So the campus and the community are working together, and the media is extremely interested because they're not hearing that anywhere else. And they're asking some of those questions now, which will be quite interesting to see in those larger cities, how they're going to handle it. Motion's on table. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you.
That's it for me.
Thank you for filling in there, Councillor Evans. We move on to recreation programs and events. Councillor O'Neill, you have the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Most of July summer program registrations are full. August registrations will open on July the 8th, and there are several other smaller events that require pre-registration, including Family Olympics, the Amazing Race, and the Friday Night Nature Walks. Residents can register at www.sackville.com/programs. With the gathering restrictions being loosened, concerts in the park are back on Thursday nights from 6:30 till 8. Anyone coming to watch the concert will be screened for their COVID-19 and asked for their name and contact number for contact tracing purposes as per province of New Brunswick requirements for gatherings. The first show took place on July the 9th. Participants must physically distance from anyone outside of their social bubbles. Staff will be showing The Grinch as of our lone movie in the park this summer, and we celebrate Christmas in July on July the 24th. The movie will start at dusk, approximately at 9 p.m., and the staff will be taking attendance, contact numbers, asking pre-screening questions, and so on. All participants, of course, must physically distance from anyone outside their social bubbles. Pickleball court material has been ordered, and work should be able to start soon. With the help of the province, the Rotary, Sackville Rotary Club have ordered an outdoor water bottle fill station for the Bill Johnson Memorial Park. Installation should take place over the summer. The department celebrated National Indigenous Peoples Day virtually on June the 21st, with over 6,300 people watching the various videos and presentations. The department celebrated Canada Day virtually on July the 1st, with 875 people watching the videos and presentations. The department has hired various buskers for performance downtown on Friday evenings throughout the summer months. The performers will be moving to various locations throughout the downtown, and some evenings will feature multiple performing spaces at the same time. Lifeguard services are now being offered at the Lewis Fawcett Park from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days per week. Plus, users are reminded to continue to physically distance and only come within 2 meters of individuals from your social bubbles. Our summer climate change awareness coordinator is working on a variety of programs and initiatives, including garden tours, a dike walk, along with others. A project initiated for the COVID-19 Physical Health Action Group, the department has developed COVID activity kits. These kits are intended to support families in need and will be loaned similar to a library system. The department has been assisting the Tanimar COVID-19 Task Force and has joined both their mental health and physical health action groups. The manager offered a webinar training for potential babysitters in the no-COVID environment. The participants received a certificate demonstrating they have a strong understanding of what is expected from them as child care workers and will be paired with families looking for children by the Tanimar COVID-19 Youth Action Group. The manager is in discussion with the Sackville Rotary Club and Mount Allison Student Union about different formats to offer the cornball event on September the 15th, 2020. further to a presentation to council on July the 6th regarding the levy on the lake, and the direction of council, a motion to provide financial support for the events will be presented at this meeting. Reminder to residents that the public boat launch will be closed to motorized watercraft on the day of the events from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the library report is open to the public with reduced hours and services. He received a federal student grant and have hired a student for 8 weeks this summer. Numbers have been down so far with limited hours and removal of the computer access in children's games. The popular summer reading club is back, and there will not be any on site. And I guess that's all the report, but there is a motion that will be presented.
Any questions on the report?
Sure. I don't know if this is when I do this, but now I'm going to speak on the motion, so I don't know if I do that now or when the motion is presented.
We'll make the motion first, and then we'll turn to you, okay?
You?
So I understand because you're speaking on it, well, Councillor Finney was going to, but he's unable to participate. Councillor Michaud, are you able to make that motion?
Yes, I am, Your Worship.
Please do.
I move that council provide a financial contribution to Garrison Hill Entertainment for the levy on the lake, the amount of $1,000 per event towards reimbursement expenses once paid invoices are provided after the event has taken place, plus up to $1,000 of in-kind services per scheduled event to a maximum contribution of $12,000 in reimbursed expenses and $3,000 worth of in-kind services.
I will second that, Your Worship. Councillor Tower.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Michaud, seconded by Councillor Tower. Councillor O'Neill, you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I realize that a lot of work has gone into the levy on the lake by Garrison Hill Entertainment. However, after much thought, I am voting against this motion as I feel we will be opening a can of worms if we provide financial funding to an organization that is other than a non-for-profit one. I'm also concerned as to how the 6-foot outside our town. As this event will likely take place, the reason that I will be voting against this motion is I cannot agree that the town provide a financial contribution of $12,000 plus the $3,000 for in-kind services. However, I would agree to the $3,000 worth of in-kind services for the event that has been read in this motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Neill, you went out for about 30 seconds there, so we missed one part of your, I think we got the gist of what you're saying, but we did miss about 30 seconds of one sentence, and I can't tell you what part of what you said we didn't hear, but just so that you know, there is a tiny gap in the record of what you said. Do you wish to repeat it, or are you good? I think we did get the thrust of your message.
Your Worship, was it towards the back, the last part, or was it in between?
In the middle.
It was right when you were going to state, I think that you were concerned about the 6-foot social distancing. It was right there.
All right, I'll read it again to the end if that's all right.
Okay.
I'm also concerned. Are ready?
Good.
I'm also concerned as to how the 6-foot distancing can be guaranteed, as I feel sure the event is expected to hopefully draw many from outside our town. As this event will likely take place, the reason that I will be voting against this motion is that I cannot agree that the town provide a financial contribution of $12,000 for a plus $3,000 for in-kind services. However, I would agree to the $3,000 worth of in-kind service for the event that was included in the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Evans, I believe you had your hand up next.
Okay. I Right now, I haven't heard what the rest of my colleagues have to say, but right now I'm prepared to support this motion because when we first heard about it, it felt like a really good idea. And I know that the community is hungry for events. We're all dealing with frustration about the pandemic. And I understand that there's a desire for things like this to happen. The town often or regularly, usually puts on events, and we're not able to this year. And so when we first heard about it, there was consensus that we support something like this. Now, people always have a right to change their mind. I would hesitate to vote no, especially for the first event, because we've given the indication that we would support it. I do have a problem with the process. As I said last week, when staff advised us that perhaps we could put aside some of the money that we have saved this year to help businesses that had been negatively affected by the pandemic, I felt like a lone voice saying that we should set something like that up. If we do that, we have the opportunity to evaluate requests that we have solicited. The problem with what we're doing is this is the best one we've heard because it's the only one we've heard. And that's why I have a problem with the process. It feels good. I would definitely vote in favor of allocating funds for the first one because we've given that impression. If we wanted to split the motion up, we could consider, whether to do subsequent, there are two other events. But I just want to make the case that doing stuff ad hoc exposes us to the risk of making mistakes and to criticism. If we had set up a process, we could have done this and made a decision that I think that would be more comfortable with. So I'm torn, and I'm interested in hearing what my colleagues have to say, because I definitely heard what Councillor O'Neill said.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Black, you're next.
Yes, thank you. I've been considering this request since the special meeting of council last Monday, and it's been a bit of a difficult decision. On June 22nd, we sat down with staff and discussed what an economic relief fund would look like because of the devastation of COVID. And it was determined that there wasn't really a way that we could make it work, but also that using public money for businesses, even though they're local, was not immediately possible, but more importantly, it didn't seem acceptable. This request is asking for public funds to support a business that will be putting on an event for Sackvillians, which would be great for people to attend. But I've heard from a few constituents, and it's my belief that using public funds to support a business like this is not a good idea, and for that reason, I won't support this motion. Although I will say that I did like Councillor O'Neill's idea about in-kind services that to at least possibly help out with it. I would entertain that, I suppose.
Councillor Black. Councillor Butcher, please.
Thank you. I agree with everything that all three of my colleagues have said so far, which does make this difficult. It is a private business, and Councillor O'Neill is right. This is setting a precedent that I'm not really comfortable with. But as Councillor Evans said, our community is missing out on a lot of things that the town usually provides that we are not able to provide safely right now. This plan for the levy on the lake does look like it will be able to do that. I was also extremely pleased to hear in the presentation that they gave last week that they were looking at ways to make sure that it was going to be a way for other businesses in our town to make money too. I love that in the motion it is for services rendered that we would be reimbursing, because one thing I had a concern about was obviously when you do an activity like this on the lake, it's dependent on weather, and was wondering what happens if it's canceled. Obviously there's work put in ahead of time and plans and expenses, but what about the artists who are perhaps not going to be performing, and then did they travel to get here? Did they put in work and time and energy? Would that be reimbursed? So I'm glad to see that that aspect is in. I was hoping that it would be a motion that would be divided by event rather than altogether, though, because I was hoping to support the first levy and see how it went and see how the community responded and if it was able to be done safely and if other businesses were involved in the rejuvenation of their financial situation due to this being put on. So I am really wanting to make this happen. I think that these unprecedented times perhaps call for unprecedented measures and maybe even the precedent setting of us doing this. I'm not sure I want to approve all three events at once, though. I would be much more interested in approving it if it were separated into three.
Councilor Butcher. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think I would support this motion as it is for a couple of reasons. First of all, it will draw people into town. And we're just saying that we're going to have trouble with tourism this year. And I think that would be a real benefit. And I don't see us setting a precedent. We give money to people like Sappy Fest and we give money to Live Bait. And those, although they don't generally make a profit, are not technically not-for-profit organizations. So to me, I don't see this as setting a precedent. We hired last year. We had entertainers come that we paid for. Those are essentially one-person businesses that make a profit. So I don't see this as a precedent, and I think it would help other, especially the restaurants and potentially the hotels in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Michaud.
Thank you, Worship. I agree with the Deputy Mayor's position on this. Ultimately, I don't believe it's setting a precedent, and I think you have to look at things differently. If you're talking economic recovery, that's one thing, but what we're talking here is an event that people have tried to organize. It's going to create some buzz for our community, and I think it's a positive step. Staff looked at different options. They looked at the fact of we don't normally sponsor, but could it be advertising? So, maybe the organizers will eventually come with an advertising package that we could participate in. Ultimately, I think that initially when we spoke as a council, now I didn't write this motion, I was asked to read it this evening and get it to the floor. I didn't write the motion. I think initially we had talked about the first event as a council. However, I'm satisfied with the fact that any sort of payout doesn't happen until after the fact. So if things are canceled, they're canceled. There's really no cost to the municipality other than the in-kind services, because that would have to be put in ahead of time. As the first one unfolds, maybe we'll learn more and understand more what can be done. And I challenge our downtown business community and our hotels and B&Bs to kind of step up at this point in time and be a part of this. Here's your opportunity. But let's make it happen here, and let's continue to show that we're ahead of the curve when it comes to COVID-19.
Thank you, Councilor Michaud. Can we have Councilor Tower, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to support this motion. I think it's a good motion. I think the idea is a great plan. When Jamie first brought the idea of finding funds to support local businesses, I was worried about the process, which hasn't been really established well yet. And my only other concern was I thought that with the idea the businesses should come to us with what they need. And so this is one business that did come to us, thinking outside the box, coming up with a great idea. And it supports local, it supports New Brunswick artists. The plan is a buzz right now. People are talking about it in PEI, because I had two people from PEI that called me over it. to get more background, and I just give them the site to go look on, and then I had an inquiry from Nova Scotia. So I know the word's out there. So our tourism is going to improve with it. We're going to bring people in, we create the buzz, they buy locally. I think supporting the business is a good idea. All three is an awesome way. Kudos to Jamie for coming up with the way we could do this for this without being too far outside the box. Although COVID calls for us to look outside the box and do things like this. So I see no problems at all. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't cost us. If it does, then it doesn't cost us a great deal. And there are funds that are available to support. So hopefully other people will come up with other ideas and we move forward from there. So I fully support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Todd. Mr. Burke, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I guess just a few notes of clarification that we take a stab, I guess, at putting together draft motions, which, you know, as a result of the conversation last week, that kind of captures the intent and desires and direction that we were given through a conversation. So this is council's opportunity. If the motion is incorrect or not what council originally wanted, then this is the time to change that. So if there was a desire for support one event, we would look to work with the organizers to provide some type of measurement of the success or results of the actual event, and then look to revisit things with council after that. But this is the time. So, you know, I appreciate the comments that, you know, Jamie finding the money and Jamie taking the motion. But again, we've tried to capture the conversation from council last week. So I just wanted to remind all of you that this is your opportunity to ensure that we have exactly drafted that as you see fit. We did have a note from the organizers middle of the afternoon today with an update on sponsorship. I don't know what the level of sponsorship has been, but this is the list that they asked that felt that council may want an update. So Atlantic Lottery, the town of Sackville, of course, pending the approval of a motion here tonight. Stingray New Country 96.9, the Royal Bank of Canada, SSI Productions, JEM Productions, Cantech Blowing Embers, Cranewood on Main, Compact Appliances, the Fawcett Family, Lafford Realty, Creative Cuts, Sober Physiotherapy, the Cookie Cutter, East Coast Music Association, Sackville Foodland, and the Independent. I haven't gone on their website to see if there's been others, but that's the full list that we've been provided in the middle of the afternoon today.
I don't want to speak again. I have a question. Is that all right, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
One of the points, and this is what I thought Councillor Butcher was going to say, and I started nodding my head in anticipation. She mentioned last week one of the positives about this was local talent. And the artists listed for the first show include a number of local talent. That weighed heavily in my support for this. And I'm wondering about, you know, subsequent shows. I think I would feel a little bit differently because the bulk of the money will be going to employees, whether it's entertainers or people doing security and logistics. So that's where the money's going. If it was going to local talent, I feel a whole lot better about supporting local industry because the entertainment industry everywhere, but in Sackville has been hugely negatively affected by COVID. So I guess my procedural question is there a willingness, and perhaps we could find out by me making this motion to divide or to separate support for the first one. The motion would be, let's divide it up and see if that passes, because I'm prepared to support it, I think, even though I have reservations that I'm not going to repeat. If the choice is not doing it at all or doing all three, I'll vote for all three, but I would like to see if there's support for dividing it up. So I'm prepared to make the motion to deal with these separately.
And that would be the process. Someone would have to make a motion to amend this motion, and then we would have to have a vote on that. Or if there is not such a motion, we would have to go with the existing motion and have a vote. The danger of that, of course, is if you do defeat it, then it cannot come forward for a year. Correct?
Wait a minute. If we defeat what? We defeat the motion to divide.
As it stands,
No.
stands,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
right.
Yeah.
So
if
that's
the
the
motion
danger
is-
we face.
Yeah.
So your point is well taken, Councillor Evans, and if there is someone who wishes to make a motion to amend the motion,
I'll
you
make the
have,
motion to divide the motion into 3 parts.
can you describe what that is?
Oh, sorry, the recommend, in the current motion, it talks about $4,000 per event plus $1,000 in kind for a total of $15,000 or $12,000 in cash, $3,000 in kind. My motion would say that we would divide it, and there would be 3 motions. One would be to support the first event, $4,000 cash, and either the rest or 2 other separate motions. Let's just say, okay, I will move that we have 3 separate motions, one for each event. And the first vote is whether to divide it. And if we do, then, we would deal with them separately. If we don't, then we're back to where we were.
Okay, so Councillor Evans has moved a motion to amend the motion into 3 event-specific motions for approval.
I think it's called a motion to divide. We're just separating the motion up into its constituent parts rather than dealing with all 3 events in one.
Is this clear to all of council, what the amendment is?
Your
Councilor-
worship,
Yes,
the $3,000, where would you do that? Is that $3,000 each time or just $1,000 for each?
No, yeah, we would say it's $4,000 in cash, $1,000 in kind per event.
Your worship, may I interrupt?
yes,
It's the clerk.
Please.
If I may make a suggestion,
Please.
Councillor Evans, if you wanted to amend the motion, my suggestion would be to make 1 motion for 1 event. See how this event goes. Then you'll make a second motion at the next meeting for the second event.
Sure. The only problem with that is timing. Is the second event, when is the second event? Isn't it early August?
August, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was worrying about as well. I was worried that I think it should be divided, but I'm concerned with the division of it if they're waiting on us providing backing to go ahead.
Yeah.
When in August and September are their next funds planned for? Because we don't want to cause it to tumble down because of this little protocol.
Your worship,
Yes.
it's Jamie. The next 2 events are August the 15th and September the 12th. That's my understanding.
Oh, okay. I think we'd be fine then.
So the only other thing I would note is that like this event, I guess, unless you're an upfront sponsor, you do lose some of the advertising privileges. So we've told the organizers that until the motion of council passes, that we're not in a position to be considered a sponsor. So that is certainly something that you do need to keep in mind.
I'm prepared to, I wanted to have the debate, and I think we need the motion to have the debate, but I'm happy to have the discussion. If, I'd be happy to lose, my motion was to have the discussion. I've lost lots of votes. I'm not going to take this personally.
Sorry, I was out of the room there for a moment, virtually, so I don't know what went on. Councillor Deputy Mayor, did you pick up on this?
Yes, it's all kind of confusing. I personally, I don't see the value in separating these motions out, because if the first event bombs out completely and they can't do a second one, then they don't submit anything to us for reimbursement for a second or third event. So the whether we divide it or not, I think is a bit moot, because they're, like I say, if it doesn't go the second or third time, we'll get no invoices.
Okay, I guess one of my concerns was, if their plan is that all the performers for the second and third event are from out of town, would that have an effect on people's support for the event?
Well, we're having,
Sure,
I'm
we're
not sure
having
we
a
have
debate without a motion.
Yeah, we have a motion, but it's not seconded, a motion to divide at this point. And we do not have a seconder to that motion. If there's someone prepared to second the motion to divide the motion into its three constituent parts. If not, then we don't have a motion to amend.
Yeah.
Okay, and we are back with the original motion.
Yeah.
And at this time, we've all had an opportunity to speak.
But question.
Okay, so we will do it by roll. All those in favor, please.
Aye.
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 So I have heard Councillor Evans, Councillor Butcher,
Councillor Michaud.
Councillor Michaud,
Councillor Tower,
Councillor Tower,
Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Aiken.
Thanks for speaking for him, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
I spoke for him.
Okay, we're still on live, folks. So we have those opposed. Councillor O'Neill,
Councillor O'Neill, nay.
thank you.
Councillor
Councillor
Black.
And that is complete. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor and 2 against. The motion is carried. Thank you. I appreciate working through what your reservations were. And at the end, we have a motion that has been adopted by council. So thank you for working through that. Was that the only motion for recreation? I believe it was.
Yeah.
Correct. And thank you, Councillor Michaud, for stepping in to make that motion tonight.
You're welcome.
And that moves us now on to public safety report. Who's starting? Is that Fire, Councillor Butcher?
Yes, that's correct. Give me a moment now. Okay, my microphone is on. That's great. Now I'm going to switch to the screen so I can see what I'm doing.
Councillor Butcher, before you do, if I could just ask others to mute their mics. We have several of them open at the moment, if that's possible, so we can all hear Councillor Butcher. Go ahead, Councillor Butcher.
I've never had people need to be quiet in order to hear me. It's one of my superpowers, but thank you. So the report for public safety is found starting on page 37. Chief Bowser and Councillor O'Neill and I met through Microsoft Teams on June 29th. I am doing the fire and EMO section of this. So Sackville Fire and Rescue responded to 10 calls for service in the month of June. That was 3 commercial fire alarms, 3 mutual aid calls to assist Memram Cook Fire Department with a forest fire, 2 rubbish fires, 1 residential fire alarm, and 1 motor vehicle collision. And the calls for service were down in June compared with last June, but only by 2 calls. Training sessions that took place in June were pump operations, hydrant connections, water rescue, and station and equipment checks. And of course, the fire department continues to follow all guidelines that have been developed by the Fire Marshal's Office in conjunction with WorkSafe NB. There will be a motion coming forward for first reading of the Fire Prevention Bylaw number 275. Most of it's minor housekeeping changes that are being proposed. But it does include a new section indicating that outdoor wood burning appliances shall not be used within our municipality when the New Brunswick Department of Natural Resources and Energy have placed a ban on open burning in our region. And we would like to take this time to remind residents to ensure that their civic number is visible from the road. That will enhance response time for emergency services. And as always, a reminder to Sackville residents to make sure they have a emergency kit prepared to last 72 hours in case of emergency. That is my section of the report. Would you like me to do the motions for this now or after Councillor O'Neill has done the police report?
Yeah, let's do both reports and then we'll go to the motions after that. Councillor O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Worship. This is Public Services, and we haven't met with any of the members, but we do have a report that he's passed along to us. The month of June saw a drop in overall calls for service compared to April and May. However, there have been some changes in the nature of the calls. There were fewer thefts and frauds investigated this past month. We were seeing similar number of mental health investigations and assistance investigations. Related to the COVID-19 Emergency Measures Act EMA order, there have been less calls than prior months. This is likely due to easing of restrictions in recent weeks. There is still educating and reminding people of the current rules. Generally, our interventions have been accepted and with understanding. There continued to be increased visibility patrols, which generated some traffic stops. The bulk of the charges were speeding offenses, and there were some warnings for speeding as well. So these stops took place on various streets in town, included Queens Road, King Street, among other roadways. We also fielded complaints of off-road vehicle traffic. Some tickets were also issued for administrative offenses related to registrations, insurance, and driver's license. And as of April the 1st, they have a vacant provincial position. This is being filled with a new member whose transfer is delayed until the end of July. And that is report from our CMP.
Okay. Are there any questions on either report for councils? If not, I believe you have a couple.
I have a question, Your Worship.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Michaud, didn't see that.
That's okay. I raised my hand. I'll lower it now. My question actually is just, we haven't had the opportunity to get an actual in-person update, and I guess, well, if you call teams in person, from the sergeant now for a few months, and I know that there were some technical difficulties with their systems for him to be able to join in. I'm just kind of wondering if maybe Mr. Burke could look into the fact of finding a means to get the sergeant to join us at our next special council meeting for kind of more of an in-person update. The sergeant, I think the time's come now that you know, this information is great, but I'd like to hear from the sergeant firsthand. So, thank you.
Points well taken, Councillor Michaud. We will ask staff to look into that for our next meeting. Thank you. And motions.
And this is where I realized that the motion I will be making, but it's after my policy bylaw report, which I'm doing next, and it's in relation to the fire.
Okay, you do not have motions under public safety. Okay. So,
right.
If there are no other questions on public safety? Okay. No other questions? There is a note to staff from Councillor Michaud's request to hear directly from the sergeant at some point in the near future. And we move to policy bylaw. And Councillor Butcher, I guess that's where you're leading that part as well.
Yes, I am. Thank you. So the report can be found on page 39 of the package. The policy bylaw liaison group met through Microsoft Teams on June 25th. So the first bylaw, number 274, a bylaw to regulate and license the owners and operators of taxi cabs. It received first reading at the June 8th regular council meeting. Staff followed up with owners of taxi cabs at that time, and a subsequent meeting was held with one of the taxi cab owners. Following a good discussion, several valid points were made by both parties, and staff would like to revisit this bylaw prior to requesting council to consider second and third readings. So that will be happening at a later time. Bylaw number 275, which is the fire prevention bylaw that I spoke of just earlier, formerly bylaw number 247, was reviewed by staff with recommended changes discussed, and this bylaw will be brought forward tonight to consider first reading. Bylaw number 276, a bylaw respecting culverts and water drainage structures, which was formerly bylaw number 222, was reviewed by staff with recommended changes discussed at our meeting. Changes were mainly housekeeping and the increase in the fees. And the bylaw was presented at the special meeting of council last week, and it will be brought forward tonight to consider first reading. Policy number 2020-11, occupational health and safety policy, was revised and discussed during our liaison meeting. And this policy will be brought forward tonight for regular at this meeting for council to consider. And the clerk's office attended one tender opening during the month of June, tender number 2020-08, the Milner Avenue reconstruction. And that was brought forward earlier. The clerk's office continues to monitor the provincial COVID-19 information with updates provided to staff, and the operational plan is updated as needed. And the clerk's office provide commissioner of oaths for 2 residents during the month of June. And that is my report.
Any questions on the report? Councillor Michaud, please.
Thank you, Worship. I guess just in regards to the taxi bylaw, I just note that a meeting was held with only one owner. I'm just kind of wondering if the other owners were satisfied with what was presented. Will they be followed up with after the fact with some of the suggestions that were made by the owner that was met with? And I'm also curious as to what the findings were. I think we had talked about this previously about the rural rides and how it's been kind of exempt, has its own exemption within the bylaw. So if there's been any further information found, if they are providing service within town limits as opposed to actually picking up and taking outside, or picking up outside and bringing into town.
Mr. Beal, can you speak to some of those?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So both taxi cabs were sent copies of the draft bylaw. We did only hear from one, but we will take that suggestion up and follow up with a second to see if there were any concerns, and also advise them of some of the suggested changes so they're aware of what we're looking at. And as far as the rural rides, we did receive confirmation from them that they do only pick up in town and deliver out of town. They do not do in-town pickup and drop off. As they've indicated, that would affect taxi cab business, and they do not want to affect that.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions on the report? If not, there are some motions.
Yes, sorry, I was having trouble unmuting myself there. Things you never thought you'd say. Okay, so I move that council give first reading in name only to bylaw number 275, fire prevention bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Butcher. Councillor Tower, you're muted.
I would like to second that, Your Worship.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Tower.
Question?
Question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you.
I move that council give first reading in name only to bylaw number 276, a bylaw respecting culverts and water drainage structures.
Moved by Councillor Butcher,
I'll second that, Councillor Evans.
seconded by Councillor Evans.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item number 3.
I move,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I move that council approve policy 2020-11, the Town of Sackville Occupational Health and Safety Policy.
Moved by Councillor Butcher.
Deputy Mayor, I'll second that.
Deputy Mayor seconds that item. Question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. You have one more, I believe?
I do. I move that council repeal policy 2011-02, the Town of Sackville Occupational Health and Safety Policy.
Moved by Councillor Butcher,
I'll second that, your worship.
seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Butcher. I think that is it?
Yes, it is.
You are done. Okay, personnel. Councillor Evans, are you speaking to this?
Yes, I will. Okay. The report is on page 55 of the package. Now, this is difficult for an old guy, but I believe we are moving from personnel to HR, human resources. So I'm going to try to say HR or human resources instead of personnel, but it's been a long time it's been personnel. The Human Resource Liaison Group met on July 8th, 2020. We did that via Teams. The following is an overview of recent activities during the past month. During the pay periods of June, there were 35 permanent employees and 1 temporary employee. Interviews for the full-time Civic Center attendant have been completed. We received 59 applications. 8 were shortlisted for interviews, with 3 withdrawing for personal reasons. During the 2020 budget, a second full-time Civic Center attendant was allocated, and given that we received exceptional candidates, staff proceeded with hiring 2 full-time Civic Center attendants. And it is my pleasure to welcome for a third time Colton Tower and Brandon Estabrook to the staff at Parks and Facilities. The internal staffing process for the Secretary of the Engineering and Public Works position has been confirmed, with Sky Tower being appointed effective July 6th. And the job posting for the Senior Manager of Corporate Projects has been published with a closing date of July 3rd, and it is my understanding that we received 90 applications for that position, and it looked like a good talent pool. So the challenge of filling Jamie's big boots, we might be successful. And the recruitment process for the CPO vacancy is currently ongoing, unless the CAO wants to update us on that. Sorry to put you on the spot, Mr. Burke.
Thanks, Councillor Evans. The CPO recruitment process is ongoing. I know the RCMP is down to the wire with a preferred candidate, and Mr. Beal and I are working on a contract or agreement with the RCMP on the particular position. So we expect to advance something in at the August meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Michaud, you have a question?
Thank you, Worship. It's just regarding the posting of the senior manager's position, corporate projects. With what's currently happening with COVID-19 and the uncertainties with, where it might lead us as a municipality, I'm just kind of wondering, especially where it's a senior manager's position, if by moving forward here and making a commitment of some sort to an individual, with unforeseen things happening down the road, what exposure are we putting an individual at in regards to they commit, we commit, and then we have to make some sort of change here. I'm just kind of wondering if maybe we might, want to slow this down a little bit and give it some more time.
Your Worship, I'd be happy to answer that question.
Sure. Please do.
Yeah, no, this is priority number 1 for me, Councillor Michaud. right now carrying 2 portfolios. I'd love to be able to concentrate on the CAO post and work with my colleagues on kind of the overall leadership and strategy kind of post pandemic, but I'm really unable to do that at the moment. So we're prepared to proceed as quickly as possible with backfilling that position. And as I said, that's for me is the CAO. That is priority number 1.
All right. No, I appreciate that. Thanks very much, Mr. Burke.
Councillor Evans, please.
I just want to heartily concur with what the CAO just said. This is a huge vacancy, and asking someone to continue to try to do 2 jobs is just not reasonable. So we need, this may be the CAO's number 1 priority. It's my number 1 priority too.
Just for clarity, Your Worship, I'm not looking for somebody to do 2 jobs. We've heard some information over the last couple of months. We've heard it again tonight about rainy days. And all I'm doing is asking a question in regards to, maybe the thought process here, any concerns that might come down the road, making a commitment to an individual as a municipality that we may have to turn around and change. That's all I'm getting to here. It's not about the task, or it's not about the job, or it's not about the burden that's being placed on other staff at this point in time. That's where my concern was. And Mr. Burke has answered my question, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions on the report? HR report? Hearing none. Thank you, Councillor Evans. Deputy Mayor, you have corporate affairs and strategic development.
Yes, I do, Your Worship. The Corporate Affairs and Strategic Development Liaison Group met on June 24th, and the report appears on page 56. Portfolio has now finalized the draft of the town's new marketing plan. The plan provides a variety of initiatives to help the town's marketing efforts to a variety of audiences. An overview of the draft plan was presented to Council at the special meeting on July 6th, and Council now has time to review the plan over the next month before contemplating its adoption, which is anticipated in August. The plan is posted on the town's website. Main Street Redevelopment will be hosting their annual general meeting on July 15th. To help facilitate the meeting, staff have offered the Civic Center as a safe venue space. Staff continue to work with the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Moncton in establishing a Sackville chapter. Local businesses can expect to see a join campaign coming very soon. Staff attended a variety of virtual meetings over the month, including a meeting with Destination Southeast regarding local tourism initiatives, several meetings with our website development company on new pages and other design elements, a meeting with Tourism New Brunswick on regional tourism efforts, 2 meetings with EOS Eco Energy on community composting and local resilience, building regional adaptation capacity expertise brace, meeting with the NB Environmental Network, a meeting with the Department of Natural Resources on the rail trail within town boundaries, and a meeting with the consultants on the Leading a Chignecto Isthmus study. The Mayor's Roundtable on climate change reconvened virtually on June 24th. The group used the meeting time to catch up where things left off, including preparing for a presentation to Council on the Roundtable's initiatives, potential long-term structure options, and the results and recommendations of the public forum held in February. The Roundtable will be presenting to Council in the special meeting in August. Staff recently advanced 2 capital projects. The dog park was discussed at the July 6th special meeting, and staff will not be drafting tender documents since receiving direction from Council. As a result, the dog park will not be pursued in 2020. An RFP for the public art project was issued on June 25th with a closing date of July 14th. We'd like to thank the Mayor's Roundtable on climate change and our own climate change awareness coordinator for their assistance on the RFP document. Staff anticipate advancing this project at the August special meeting depending on submissions received. While it will not be a typical year for Sappy Fest, the organizers are pursuing programming on the wall of the Terra Beata facility in partnership with Struth Gallery and the Fawcett Media Arts Center and the Owens Art Gallery. This initiative was presented by Sappy Fest at the special council meeting on July 6th and includes projecting images and video on the side of, quote, the Cube, the Terra Beata facility, including art installations and music performances for the purposes of recording, documenting, and live streaming as part of Safi Fest's alternate programming due to the COVID-19 pandemic. A motion to support the initiative with a street closure, noise bylaw exemption, and use of public works parking area and electricity connection will be presented at this meeting. And that's the report, Your Worship.
Are there any questions on the report? I'm not seeing Councillor Evans.
Yeah. I would like to say I am delighted to hear that the Mayor's Roundtable on Climate Change is being not reconstituted, but put back into action. It's tempting in the time of the pandemic to forget that we have another very serious challenge which is on our hand, and I dare say will be a problem much longer than COVID will be. So I'm really pleased that this is getting back in business.
Thank you. We look forward to their report next month. Are there any other questions on the strategic? Councillor O'Neill.
Yes, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
I was supposed, did Safi Fest receive their funding that they usually receive from their grant money this year?
I believe that CIO Burke, could you?
Yes, they have, Your Worship. Councillor O'Neill, they have received that $4,000 in operation.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Then I believe there is a motion.
Yes, Your Worship. I move the council approve the following for Safi Fest Contemporary Arts Festival in order to facilitate the festival's presentation on Crescent Street at the Terra Beata facility as presented at the special meeting of council on July 6th, 2020. To grant the temporary closure of Crescent Street from Industrial Drive to Sloan Drive on Friday, July 31st, 2020, beginning at 3:30 p.m. until Tuesday, August 4th, 2020 at 8 a.m. Permission to use a temporary power supply from the Department of Engineering and Public Works to accommodate audiovisual equipment for the duration of the presentation. Permission to use the public parking area at the Department of Engineering and Public Works facility for audiovisual equipment and to accommodate physically distanced attendees. Grant a temporary time exemption from 11 p.m. to 12 midnight on Friday, July 31st and Saturday, August 1st, 2020, as per bylaw number 246, the Town of Sackville Noise Bylaw, Section 5. So moved.
I would be happy to second that motion.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Aiken, seconded by Councillor Evans. Councillor Michaud, please.
Thank you, Worship. Just want to get clarification. So they will have something both nights, or is one night like a rain date? And from their presentation, I understand they are adhering to all the protocols in regards to social distancing and screening for anybody entering the site. The other thing is that if it's just 2 nights that they're looking for the area, I'm just kind of wondering why the street would remain closed until Tuesday morning.
Mr. Burke, are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I don't know specifically if if there is an event planned for the Friday night. I know there is a significant amount of setup, so it could be, maybe some of the equipment requirements on that Friday night. So, Councilor Michaud, we can certainly confirm that with the organizers.
Oh.
In terms of the duration of the road closure, I guess this would allow our staff to close the street on Friday night, and then reopen it when they return to work on Tuesday. So we would need any additional staff time over the weekend. I guess we looked at the level of inconvenience, and it is a long weekend, and there shouldn't be a whole lot of traffic out there, and that way it gives them a bit of extra time as well on the tear down if need be. And in the event that we were to have staff on and could get the street open more quickly, that would certainly be our intention.
No, great. Thanks very much. I guess I didn't check my calendar and the fact that Monday was the holiday. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think I'm going by memory here, but night 1 is the setup, and night 2 is the performance, and there'd be a documentation over that 2-night period.
Great. Thanks very much.
We'll confirm that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you both for that. Any other question?
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. That is it for corporate affairs and strategic development, I think, Deputy Mayor, correct?
It is, your worship.
Thank you. So we move to new business. Has anyone got new business? We did not identify any at the beginning of the meeting. I'm not seeing anyone adding here. Therefore, we go to item 9, which is, Councillor Evans, you have a question?
Before we went on air, I raised the topic or raised the point that some of us as participants lost the video feed, but when I watched the recording, it was fine. And I just wanted to report that from my perspective, nobody disappeared during the meeting. So I think whatever happened, that mystery has been resolved. So I'm going to give staff credit for it.
That is interesting. All right. We then have a motion to adjourn, or
I move we adjourn, Your Worship.
Sorry, Councilor Butcher, you had your hand up. Did I miss something?
Oh, I was just going to comment on Councillor Evans and let him know that all through the meeting, for me, people have been disappearing and popping back on. But I just hoped that I was the only one seeing that. So I guess we'll find out when we replay what the public has seen.
All right. Yeah, and I know that I've left the meeting twice, so I'm not exactly sure what that looks like either. Okay, is there a motion?
I move we adjourn, Your Worship.
Councillor Tower moves. Second?
Second, Councilor Michaud.
Councillor Michaud seconds the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you all. And
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.